Good evening, everyone. Welcome to beautiful downtown Denison, Texas for this city council meeting of Monday, April the 20th, 2026. And we have a quorum here, and at this time, I would like to invite Amy Lay to come forward. She'll do our pledge, and Pastor Justin Miller, my pastor of Waples United Methodist Church, will lead us in the prayer. So Justin and Amy, if y'all would come forward, please.
Let us pray. Most loving God, we thank you for Denison and God for the people who've been chosen to serve the people of this city. We thank you for all the great things that are happening in our city, and God, we pray that great things will continue to happen to help every citizen of Denison. And as we come together to serve, God, I pray for our mayor, for the various levels of city officials, and especially for this assembled council. God, I pray that you will give them the wisdom to govern amid the conflicting interests and issues, a sense of welfare and true needs of our people, a keen thirst for justice and righteousness, and confidence in what is good and fitting, and the ability to work together in harmony when there's honest disagreement and personal peace in their lives and joy in their task. God, I pray for the task set before them today, and I pray that you will give them an assurance of what would please you and what would benefit those who live and work in Denison. We ask this as your sons and daughters in Christ. Amen.
Amen. Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you very much. And we now move to item number 2, the public comments for our meeting. Can you hear me? Citizens may speak on action items listed on the agenda. A request to speak card should be completed and returned to the city clerk upon arrival and prior to the council reaching this part of the meeting. Citizen comments are limited to 3 minutes unless otherwise required by law. Comments related to public hearings listed below, if any, will be heard when that specific hearing starts. Madam Clerk, do we have any cards?
No, sir.
All right, we'll move forward. Item number 3 is the consent agenda. Does any council person desire to tackle any of these individually?
No, sir.
All right, if not, we'll move forward with items A, B, and C on the consent agenda. Is there a motion?
I make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented. Second.
I have a motion by Councilman Redwine, second by Councilman Thomas. Any other discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. We'll move to item number 4, which is a public hearing, and invite Ms. York to come forward. We're going to receive report, hold a discussion, and conduct a public hearing and take action on an ordinance rezoning the subject property commonly known as the Travelers Hotel. Ms. York, welcome.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. The item I have for you tonight, as the Mayor said, is a request for a rezone of property commonly known as the Travelers Hotel. It's 300 East Main Street. The applicant is wishing to rezone the property to the Central Area District within the Commercial Historic Overlay. Currently, the property, the 2 lots on the north that face on East Main Street where the Travelers Hotel is currently zoned commercial within that overlay district. And then the 2 lots on the south side are zoned light industrial. This rezone will allow for all of those properties to be zoned Central Area within that Commercial Historic Overlay District, which will be an extension of what we currently have here on Main Street. And it will allow the property to be developed in a mixed-use manner. The 2 lots on the south side, the applicant intends to use for parking, but please note that the Central Area does not require parking, so this will just be an additional parking lot for that property. The future land use plan designates the subject property to fall within the downtown center. And per the comprehensive plan, the downtown center should be a mixed-use activity center with retail, restaurants, entertainment, offices, and medium-density residential uses. So approval of this request is compliant with the comprehensive plan. I'm present for any questions you may have. We obviously recommend approval. So did the P&Z Commission at their meeting on March 24th. And I'm present for any questions, and the applicant is here as well.
All right, thank you. Any questions of Ms. York?
No, sir.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
This is a public hearing. At this time, at 6:05, we'll open the public hearing and ask if there is anyone here to speak in favor of or against this project. Seeing none and hearing none, this public hearing is closed. Back to the council. Any other questions or comments? Is there a motion for item number 4?
Mayor, I move to approve the ordinance rezoning the subject property to Central Area District with the Commercial Historic Overlay District.
Second.
Have a motion by Councilman Thomas, a second by Councilman Thorne. Any other discussion or questions? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries unanimously. We're now down to item number 5, items for individual consideration. We're going to receive a report and have a discussion on public-private partnership interim agreement, contract number 2026-0036 between the City of Denison and Denison Animal Welfare Group, also known as DOG. Mr. Atterbury.
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor and Council, the item before you, we've been working on with DOG for several years. As everyone is aware, we've had a relationship with DOG for how many years, Stephanie? About 7?
Since the beginning, really, maybe 2015.
Yeah, 10 years. And one of the weak points that we have because of our growth and because of the growth of the animals in the city is our animal shelter. And an animal shelter is something that a city just absolutely cannot be without. So we have had a great relationship with DOG, and Stephanie has tried every way she could to take care of the operations and then try to figure out a way to build a new shelter at the same time. So we started meeting about a year ago as a committee with DOG and with several of the council members were on the committee also, to try to create a way to do a public-private partnership with them to develop a animal shelter for the city. Stephanie has a piece of property that she had planned to put the shelter on because that was one of the biggest costs, was coming up with a piece of property. So as we met and talked, we determined that we have some land out on 91 by the Citizens Residential Collection Station. We have about 170 acres there. And we looked at it, and there is a way to carve out possibly a 4 or 5 acre piece of that. It would put the animal shelter out on our outskirts of the city there, where we have that other operation that will go on till infinity. We'll always need that. So we put our heads together and determined that if Stephanie could come up from her side with a sale of that property to allow us to do some COs and build a shelter and use that money to help with paying the debt service, that if we could get that going and get 3 or 4 years down our belt here, then the city could take that over as far as taking care of the debt service. The other thing that is key to this is one of the biggest challenges that she has is her operational cost of that shelter. I know I know Teresa has, several of us, when we say they need food, we send them food or we take them food. So we do what we can to keep it going and to keep the operation going. So we felt like if we could come up with a property, which takes a big chunk out of the expenses of that, and we have hired a architectural planner who has put together a concept for us of what we're going to need there space-wise. And one of the things Stephanie wants to do is put in a low-cost spay and neuter clinic and vaccination clinic. She believes that will highly assist her in paying for her operational expenses. So that means that we have a shelter. It would be a place for us to let our animal control officers work out of. We could even fence off a little bit more property there if we need to for large animals that we have to sometimes go pick up in the middle of the night, cows, horses, things like that, and store them until we can find the owners of those. So it gives us a lot more flexibility in the future. If for some reason, and this agreement gets us to the point where we can begin that process, but if sometime in the future a dog were to not be able to function anymore, then there would be a reversion clause where it would come back to the city and we'd find a new operator and keep going. But at least we would have a nice animal shelter with a clinic out there to help a much-needed animal population that we have here in the city. So that's what this is, and if you approve this tonight, then that will get a signature on this agreement, and we'll continue to work together toward building a new shelter.
Stephanie, would you like to come forward and make any comments? Maybe just for the record, give us your name and
I
address.
appreciate you putting together the task force that we've all worked together on, and moving forward with this project. This is something that the city really needs. As most of you know, we operate out of the old South Side Fire Station. So it's too small, it's too old. We've had to make constant renovations and repairs to it. So this is something that's really needed, and I think this carves the path for the future. So thank you. I'm here for any questions you might have.
Let me mention one more thing that I failed to mention. At the point that we got the new shelter built, then we would propose that we sell that property where the dog clinic is at now in the loop, and that would be more money to put toward the debt service on this project.
And the new facility will be built specifically as an animal reserve and
Yes.
not a fire station.
Yes.
I mean, y'all don't have Paw Patrol that can go? get out there?
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, I'd like to compliment you. I see you out at our various Denison celebrations and always the October celebration. And
Yeah.
I see you out at different places, and thank you for taking great care of these animals who need a home. And we think that this will be a really, really great thing for the future of Denison. So thank you for all of your efforts.
Thank you.
Yes,
I
ma'am.
appreciate it.
Anyone else? All right, thank you. Any other discussion from council or comments? Is there a motion?
Mayor, I move to approve the public-private partnership interim agreement, contract number 2026-0036, between the City of Denison and the Denison Animal Welfare Group, DOG, regarding construction of a new animal services facility, and authorize the interim city manager to execute the same, subject to final and legal review and approval.
Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Teresa Adams, a second by Councilman Thorne. Any other questions or comments? If not, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Now for item number 6, project updates. We're going to have a mid-year report on the 2026 budget, talk about some goals and objectives, and we welcome Ms. Lori Ossabaugh. Thank
Good
you.
evening, Mayor,
Thank you.
Council. Yes, I am here this evening to give you a mid-year update on the status of our adopted budget. The data being presented is through March 31st, which is 50% through our year. If you recall me pointing out previously, we do not receive our revenue or expend our budget on even increments, 1/12 each month. So there will be some accounts that will be over 50% or under 50%, and that's still within normal. Okay, we basically have two classifications of funds. Operating funds, which consist of our general fund and utility fund. And then we have special revenue funds, around 60 of them, that can be broken down into other categories as shown on the slide. And I failed to mention that I'll probably go a little fast through these. There's quite a few slides, but please stop me if you have questions or if I need to re-explain anything. So the general fund, as you know, deals with anything that's not water or sewer related, such as public safety, development services, our refuse, animal services, streets, things such as that. And here we have our budget history from the last 10 years, providing year-over-year trends You can see the effect of high inflation in fiscal year 23 and 24 with huge jumps in the year-over-year percentages. Keep in mind that we are still adjusting or trying to adjust to these rising costs. For fiscal year 26, you will see that revenues are less than expenses. That is due to the budget amendment that added the SAFER grant staff after we determined that the benefit in the long run outweighed that deficit. Here we compare our mid-year gain for the general fund as of March of each year. This year's gain is down from 7.9 million to 6.9 million. So it's down around 1 million compared to last March. The next few slides will shed a little more information onto that change. And here are our top revenue sources, with property tax and sales tax being primary and refuse at a close third. The all other combined revenue is a combination of smaller revenue sources that adds an additional $9.5 million to our budget, to the general fund budget specifically. And it includes things such as franchise fees, building permits, and interest earnings. Okay, this slide compares our top revenues through March for the current year and the prior year. I like to see how it compares to where we were last year. Although the current revenue dollars are at $33.3 million, this is only a $352,000 increase over this time last year. The percentage of year-to-date budget is down 68 to 64%, so we will continue to watch that. So now let's look specifically at our property tax revenue. You can see that the revenue peaks in January of each year when the tax bills are due. That's why we show a large gain each mid-year in the general fund as of March, because of all those collections that come in. And as less property tax is collected throughout the remainder of the year, these January collections will carry us through the remainder of the budget. So, and on the right, you can see the total collections through March for the past 3 years. For this year, we've collected $20 million to date, which is $212,000 more than our collections from this time last year. This slide compares our sales tax through March for 3 years. In the box just under the logo, you will see that our sales tax revenue is only $19,000 more than this time last year. This is a lower number than what we would have liked to have seen. And at the bottom right is a breakdown of the sales tax by category. And bear with me, I'm losing my voice. I'm getting over a battle of bronchitis, so I can hear my voice fading. Refuse, our third revenue source, saw a large drop last year in fiscal year 25. It continues to remain at that lower level. If you recall, that drop was due to the completion of construction projects in the Gateway area. And now we're going to move away from revenues to expenses. Wages and benefits make up the majority, primarily driven by public safety, which makes up 60% of that 59%. TERS contributions also make an impact to our budget at $2.9 million. But don't forget that the TERS also generates additional revenue from the county for us, and we'll talk a little more about TERS in a few slides. The all other combined expenses includes things such as software, mowing, maintenance, just standard operation expenses. They're listed at the bottom right. And here we compare our top expenditures through March for our current and last year. Expenses are currently at $26.4 million, which is nearly $1.3 million more than this time last year. However, the total percentage of budget to date is 50.7%, which is 0.3% lower than last year. And here I've highlighted the expense categories that are over that mid-year 50% mark. On TERS contributions, those are paid in full for the year, so that has capped and will not go over budget. Capital leases are actually on track, but the percentage is skewed due to the timing of the payments. And then electricity is running a little bit on the high side. At this time, and estimated to have an annual overage of around $26,000. And now on to our TERS contributions. You will see that the city's portion has continued to increase over the years. This year, our contributions were close to $3 million, which is about $360,000 more than last year. And here is the county's contributions. This year reached over $1 million, which is $136,000 more than last year. So to put the TERS into perspective, over the 7 years showing on this slide, the county has contributed over $4 million to our TERS, which shows the significant benefit of their participation in our TERS and to our community. Here is the mid-year performance by general fund divisions. Our combined overall performance is 50.7%. It is listed incorrectly on the slide, but it is 50.7%. Non-departmental on the far left includes property insurance and our TERS contributions, which are paid in full at the beginning of the year, which elevates that percentage, and that will level out throughout the rest of the year. Employee services, they have a software fee paid in full for the year, which raises their percentage, and then auto maintenance is over, causing that to be elevated. This is the same data as the previous slide, but it's based on grouping of the divisions. You'll see here the administration, internal services are the two groups above the 50%. And this shows the divisions that make up each of those groups that you can refer to. And I've highlighted those 3 divisions over the 50% that I just talked about. So for the days of reserve, the general fund is budgeted to end at 68 days, and we are currently at 49. If you did the math, I would point out that we're actually at 118 days, but since we receive all of our property tax, or the majority of it in the beginning of the year, I have to prorate that to get a more realistic number, and it is showing 49 days. Last year, we were at 58 days at this time of year. In my opinion, what I'm seeing is I think we're going to have more delinquent property tax payers this year. So I think after March, we'll see more taxes collected than we did last year after March. So it's just a matter of timing with property tax. Sometimes we have a lot of payers, they pay on time, sometimes they pay late, and that kind of skews those percentages when you compare them year to year. And here's a summary of the general fund. So on the strengths that we have, our total operating expenses are on target at 50.7%, just 0.7 above. The days of reserve have started out strong at the beginning of the year. They were 77 days. And challenges are that revenues are underperforming, with our mid-year gain down about $1 million from this time last year. And now to the utility fund. Oh, thank you. Again, here is our budget history for the past 10 years. Like with the general fund, you can also see the effect of inflation in fiscal year 23 and 24. The current fiscal year 26 budget is a balanced budget with both the revenues and expenses at $28 million, with a small surplus of around $20,000. And instead of a mid-year gain like the general fund, the utility fund has a mid-year loss since our water sales do not peak until the summer months. The good news, though, is that our mid-year loss is down from $2.1 million last year to $1.5 million this year, which is a $600,000 improvement. And we hope to see that pendulum continue to swing in that direction, where that loss will go back into the black as you see in the earlier years. Our top revenues in the utility fund are water sales and wastewater charges. All other combined makes up 7% and includes things such as interest earnings, lab fees, water tower rentals, and these all other total around $1.9 million. And I have a list of more of the all others down at the bottom. And here we compared the top revenue with this time last year. Total revenue is up from 12 million to 12.4 million, but the percentage of budgeted revenue is coming in less at 44.4% compared to 46.8%. This means that we are showing revenue growth, but just not at the pace that we would like to see it. Hopefully those summer months, I'm not sure how the weather is going to perform, but if we can get some sun and heat, that'll drive water sales. I think I've heard it may be a wet one, but time will tell. On the right, total water sales through March is up $175,000 from last March. However, this amount should be higher because in December we had our last rate increase. As you know, each December we do have a rate increase to adjust our rates. So I would have expected this number to have been higher. Last year our gain was $714,000 over the prior year. So if we would have gained around $500,000, I would have been comfortable with that. Again, we'll just have to ride it out and see how it performs over the next several months. Good news is wastewater revenue is faring much better. It's showing an increase from 4.2 million to 4.7 million. So that is a little over $500,000 or 11.8% increase. And here is our year-over-year water revenue growth over the past 5 years. You can see that slowdown of 3% for the current year. I would have liked to have seen that at 7.5% to 8%. Would have been a comfortable place. But this tells us that either water sales are down or our billing is not accurate due to failing meter registers, which are at the end of their life. During the next budget year, one of us will be bringing a project to you for replacement of our meter registers because they are at end of life. And again, we don't know if these sales are down due to that or just from less consumption. Wastewater growth is at 12% over last March, which is exactly on target where I was hoping it would be. Our sewer rates were significantly undercharging for several years before we had our rate study performed. So in 24 and 25, you can see where we had a slightly higher increase to catch us up to get those rates where they needed to be to support the operations. On our key utility fund expenditures, debt payments are by far our greatest expense. It eats up 50% of the budget. In fiscal year 27, we expect those debt payments to increase to $15.5 million. Wages and benefits takes up 22%, and all other takes up 13% of the budget. And when comparing year-to-date expenses to last year, we have spent $1.3 million less. This is mainly due to less debt payments being made as of March, which is due to the timing of those payments being due. We don't have overall less debt payments. It's just up through March that we've paid less, but we will catch up with that throughout the rest of the year. And I also want to point out that a drop in our credit card merchant fees, which I'm excited about, it dropped from $357,000 down to $71,000. This is a significant savings. If you recall, last year we were working on switching companies to make this savings happen. And I want to give our utility billing office a shout out because with these lower fees came less automation. So that means they had to start manually inputting more data and doing more manual work. They knew the mission, they knew what the potential savings were, and they made it happen. So I'm very pleased with their support on that. Losing automation is not easy when you deal with the number of customers we deal with. Here are the utility fund expense categories exceeding that 50% mark. Chemical supplies, electricity, and professional fees continue to climb each year, as we've seen over the past several years. We also saw an increase in all other combined. A large part of that was due to the winter storm that we had. Of course, we don't budget for emergency operations. We don't anticipate having those, but since we did have some weather, it did create an additional $123,000 in the utility fund and expenses. And here is the utility fund performance by division. Combined overall performance is at 50.1%. From left to right, we have Public Works admin over, which is due to engineer review fees. Now, it does have an offsetting revenue, which will balance that out. So that is not a concern when it's tied to engineer review fees. Lab is over due to chemical supplies and a new lab refrigerator they had to purchase. And water treatment is up due to chemical and electricity costs. Again, this is the same performance data, but by group rather than by division. I did put a note that this chart changed from the packet that you got, or the file that you got last week. The bars were pulling from the wrong cells, so this has been updated. So if you have the other copy, you might want to replace this page with it. And here are divisions.
Could you back up one page,
Yes.
please? Yes, I had some different numbers on there. Thanks for that update. Got it, thank you.
Okay, and here are the divisions that make up those groups for reference. And I've highlighted those 3 divisions that I just spoke about that were above that 50% mark. And in the utility fund, for our days of reserve, we are budgeted to end at 46 days, and we are currently at 25 days. Again, water sales are slower in the first half of the year, so that those days of reserves will start to increase as we reach the summer months. And our strengths in the utility fund include total expenses being right on track at 50.1% through March. Overall expenses are down $1.3 million compared to last March. Credit card fees are down, and we continue to see that savings increase even more as the first few months of higher fees falls off. So next year our savings will be even better than this year. And our challenges, although revenue is up by $410,000 over last year, the percentage of budgeted revenue is down 2.4%. So compared to this time last year, revenue should be up by at least $1 million. Another challenge is our days of reserve are critically low. And then I want to touch briefly on these special revenue funds. You can see over the past 2 years that we have halted our transfers to our capital funds, which supports our capital needs. Instead, we've had to resort to financing to make things happen. We do have a few items budgeted in those funds for this current year from dollars that were left over from previous years and carried forward. So we did have around $60,000 in the general capital fund and around $260,000 in the utility capital fund. Our street fund began with $2.7 million, but keep in mind a portion of that was obligated to contracts from the prior year, some of it, not all of it. Our transfers into the fund and our interest earnings will be, we're expected to have $1.4 million. I did have a typo on the slide from last week, so I've corrected that. Also, if you do the math, if you go through and you do the beginning balance, add the revenue, subtract the expenses, you will not get this ending balance, because what is not showing on this slide is another reduction to cash for $625,000, which is for expenses that they hit last year's budget, but the checks didn't clear the bank until this fiscal year. So just in case you do the math, I'm one of those. I'll go through and check people's math, and if you notice that's off, it'll be off $625,000. It's called an adjusting entry. So we're expecting to have an estimating ending cash balance in our street fund of $978,000. So next, the donations to our Parks and Recreation Fund continues to decline each year. From left to right, we show as of March 31st, the number of participants is down to 4,700. The percentage of participants is down to 39.7%, and our year-to-date revenue earnings is down to $244,000. In our general and utility bond funds, these are projects funded over the past 10 years. You'll also see these listed on the next two slides. So in general government debt, we have the funded projects listed on the right, and on the left is the issuance amounts over the past 10 years. You'll notice for fiscal year 26, we did not issue any general fund debt. And the same information on the utility fund. The blue bar on the right is the latest issuance that just funded last week for to continue infrastructure projects that we have under contract. A little bit of good news in regards to grants. On the left, you'll see what we have received as of March the 31st of this year: $240,000 in the general fund, $971,000 in the utility fund, and $41,000 in our special revenue funds. On the right, you will see other grants that we are expecting to receive this year. You have heard project updates on the SAFER grant and the Texas Water Development Board grant. But last week, we received a preliminary award for a Water Smart grant for $125,000, which will help us with those meter register replacements that I mentioned a few minutes ago. There were two other grants that I did not list on here that we will be receiving this year. One is $26,000 for police body cams and $18,000 for IT training certifications. And then here is a list of activities and projects that have been completed this year. This is not all inclusive, but it will give you an idea of some of the projects that we've been working on. Staff is present and can discuss any of these if you have any questions. And I hope you found this information beneficial and somewhat interesting, at least. I'm happy to try and answer answer any questions that you may have.
Well, thank you for your efforts, and thank you for the update. Any questions from council? Anyone? I'm going to urge each of our council members and our team members to review the budget. We have a budget retreat coming.
We've got a lot of budget meetings and
Yes, I'm
a
sure you
retreat.
have. I'm sure you
Yes.
have, and we appreciate the staff because it's we're not unique. I think every city in the state of Texas, especially in Grayson County, is experiencing many of the same things. We're just going to have to find a way to make it through, and we'll do that, I'm certain.
I would like to say that I have noticed compared to last year that the divisions have done an excellent job of pulling back and being fiduciaries of their budgets, and it shows in the numbers, and that's well appreciated. So,
absolutely, thank you to our staff. Thanks, everybody. Any other questions or comments?
As things are going, to me, and I just want you to correct me if I'm wrong on this, is it seems like we're kind of going down the same path we have been for the last couple of years, right? Where, reserve's going to be down. Is that correct? So we're going to have to continue to just tighten our belts a little bit. And, okay. All right. I just want to make sure I was understanding it correctly.
well, and one of the ways that we do this, especially in public works, where we have a lot of infrastructure projects, we focus on what we absolutely have to have. Other projects that are still needed, we try to postpone those or push those down the road. But it's basically just kicking the can down the road.
Yeah.
But we have to work within our means.
Yeah, we do have to work with our means, and I think we have to work under the assumption that probably not going to have another tax raise. I think we have to work under that assumption, right? And so, for long-term planning, I think we need to think about that.
We'll do our best.
And just when we thought inflation was coming a little bit better under control, we hear the news that it's going the other way, and not the good way for us. So, but that's where we've had to deal with it. Our cost of chemicals and everything else that we deal with, new vehicles, whatever it is, everything is up. So anyway, we thank everyone for your best efforts on tightening your belt, and I'll invite the council to please study your reports here, and I forget the date of the June 26th. June 26th is our council retreat, so you've got some homework to do. Just a little bit. But anyway, any other questions for Ms. Oswald? All right. Thank you so much for the update. We appreciate it. So we are down to item number 7 for our agenda tonight, and that's going to be an executive session. Let me get this up here. Item 7A, we'll consult with an attorney on a matter in which the attorney's duty to the governmental body under the Texas Disciplinary Rules of Professional Conduct conflicts with this chapter, and or consult an attorney about a pending or contemplated litigation and contemplated settlement of same, section 551.071. And tonight's topics will be concerned with city attorney regarding City of Denison versus Malasani, REI LLC, and real property located at 4911 and 4931 Texoma Parkway, Denison Municipal Court case number CIV 2026001. Continue discussions on number 2, city manager, number 3, contract for city manager recruitment. And then item D, we'll discuss the appointment, employment, evaluation, reassignment of duties, discipline, or dismissal, or hear a complaint against a public officer, and that continues the city manager search, item number 1. So before we adjourn to executive session, while everyone's still here, I'd like to make a few comments. At least one of us in this room has the opportunity to retire in a few days, and that's Mr. Atterbury. And so what I wanted to say to Bobby is that we want to acknowledge your 10 years of service and faithful service to our great city. You came to us in 2016 as we began our new downtown street construction and led the efforts for the D3, the Designing Downtown Denison. And you have stepped up each and every time we asked you to and when we needed you to, and we appreciate that. You have shared many, many unselfish hours of your experience in all areas of city government, and we sincerely thank you for your leadership. You have been a mentor to many of us, and you are considered a friend to all of us. Bobby, we wish you every happiness as you move into this new part of your new life, and it's been a life well served, especially to the people of Denison. So on behalf of the city council, the entire city staff, and the citizens of Denison, congratulations, Bobby Atterbury. You will be missed, and we wish you the very, very best. So the time is now 6:43. We're going to adjourn into executive session, and we'll be back with you shortly. Thanks, everybody, for coming, and we'll be back. Well, thanks, everybody, for hanging around, hanging with us. We appreciate it. It's 8:01, and we'll call this adjournment back in session for the city council and for... for the conferring 7A1, conferring with the city attorney regarding City of Denison versus Malasani. There's no action taken. Regarding city manager and contract for city manager recruitment, we do have some action, and I will entertain a motion.
Mayor, I move to approve the agreement for executive level recruitment services for a city manager search with Clear Creek Professionals as discussed in executive session, and authorize the mayor to execute the agreement upon approval of final edits by the city attorney and mayor.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second for the approval of Clear
Creek.
Career.
Clear what?
Clear career.
Career. Oh,
All right.
I amend that to clear
as
Caribbean.
the consultants for us. Any discussion, any other discussion or questions? All in favor, please say aye.
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 All opposed, same sign. All right. And regarding the interim city manager effective May 1, is there a motion?
Mayor, I move to appoint Renee Wagner as interim city manager beginning May 1st, 2026, as set forth in the agreement as discussed in the executive session, and authorize the mayor to execute the agreement upon approval of final edits by the city attorney and mayor.
All right, is there a second? Second. Motion by Mayor Pro Tem Adams and a second by Councilman Redwine to elect Renee Wagner as interim or acting city manager effective May 1. Any other questions or comments? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. And that concludes the last item. I was going to ask this question. What about the taxpayer impact statement? Any action needed on that? That was just a matter of information. Okay. All right, the time is now 8:03, so if there's no further business, we'll declare this meeting adjourned. Thank you all for our super
Thank y'all
staff.
for
Thank you very
staying.
much.
All right.